to Berlin, Germany, Gory, coming at you live with the Amazon European Masters. It's time for our first LVP versus LFL game, and what may be even more important is that we have a rematch from last EU Masters Spring semifinals. Corp and UCAM will be facing each other again in the knockout stage, and I reckon it's gonna be an absolute banger. My name is Koolein, and I'm joined here by Ox and Dagda, and I think you can only confirm that it's gonna be a banger because these two teams are insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hyped for this as soon as we saw the quarterfinal draws. I think everyone who watched Spring saw this as like the big series where Corp nearly went down, and now we get the opportunity for a rematch.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, look, wherever the scriptwriters are, whoever they are, I gotta thank them. Like, the fact we're getting this again in a best of 5 is nuts.
Yeah, but before we dive into all the action of today, we need to have a step back a little bit and have a look at what happened yesterday, because yesterday we saw a big tank on PDW. Yeah, I mean, did PDW take on Big? I don't really know exactly, because that was a bit of a very one-sided series.
Yeah, a bit of big versus small, right?
Absolutely.
Just never really got to see PDW get into things. Big came in with a phenomenal game plan. Let's shut down that bottom side, make sure Cubic can't have any sort of impact, and then let's just take over the game from our stronger mid-jungle.
And I think the big thing is PDW are a team who've tended to lean towards the sort of later game skirmishes and fights, and Big just didn't give them the chance. It was set to their pace, and they ensured that they were playing a fast-paced game, and PDW just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, because fast-paced, I think that is the correct word for this. It was a very short series. It was 3-0, but it was also very fast games.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible to see how quickly Big kind of just dismantled everything coming through from PDW. Playing down towards that bottom side, banning away a ton of these AD carries so you don't have that pushing bot, putting attention into that bottom side as well so Cubit can't get out and roam. That we never saw that good mid-jungle support that we expected from PDW, and then Akabane just took over the map at Reeker.
And I think it's easy to look at PDW and think, you know, they didn't really offer up much, but this team has been doing well so far in the tournament. Shatic in particular, we had so much praise for, but it just didn't matter because they couldn't get to the point where anyone really came online.
Yeah, we still need to mention Big's team fights here once again, because it looked so good for them, and the way they set this up, I mean, they value Herald a lot, but they also show that you can set up team fights using that particular objective.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is not just the fact that obviously they secured the Heralds, but how effectively they utilize them. If you want to set a fast pace to a game, then how much you get off each Herald is a massive factor. And Big ensured they got a ton of value, and it really meant that PDW just didn't have the time to scale up.
No, because they drafted things that could work if you have team fights, although that might be a point of discussion. Looking at that first draft, for example, is where we see Ash Braum coming up, that kind of stuff. A lot of defensive things that were being drafted for PDW, and also Big just making it very hard for them to play out.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things, as you said, was the Rift Herald, the fact that we had so much attention towards it. They got these big gold leads in the early stages. It made it nigh on impossible for you to actually have any sort of impact when you got to the later point. Like, they were, if you look at your screens, 3,000 gold up on average at the 15-minute mark. And so much came of that because they got these early Rift Heralds, slammed them in to get those first turrets, and just take over the game.
I mean, might this be an MVP performance of Shelly? What do you think, Ox?
I mean, I think so, but it's just the way they utilized it. And that's the thing, is that we've seen teams who can secure the Herald, they get a couple of plates, maybe the second Herald, they get something. Big was ensuring that they got a huge amount of value. And again, pound for pound, I think PDW has some really strong carry players, but if they don't have the gold, they're not going to be able to function up against Big.
And I think we need to look a bit deeper into that and maybe look a bit further. We already spoke a bit about the draft, Big attacking very hard on that bot side. They actually pinched Odie in a way that he couldn't really play the game he wanted. We talked about Ziggs, we talked about stuff like a Tristan like Ezreal that was very safe, that could give him extra plates, have the lane for himself. That was completely nowhere to be seen. But looking at this draft once again, Akabana, Xin Zhao, very huge. Reeker on the TF. These are champions we've been talking about a lot. And again, in this series, we see them coming up very, very big.
Yeah, I think the major thing was we saw the Twisted Fate, which obviously allows you to lean heavily towards the side lanes, allows you to set up plays very easily without much movement from your mid laner. But then on top of that, we also had the Xin Zhao, who's great in those early skirmishes.
Yeah, and the big one for me was the Jhin as well, right? When we see 8 AD carry bans pretty consistently in the series, when you're able to pull out the Jhin, it's like, well, what do you have to push against that? He gets full control of that bot side, make sure Cubit is locked down, can't go anywhere. Odie's not having the impact that you want, and it meant that you had that freedom to power through that mid-jungle 2v2. Akabane and Reeker were on a different level that day.
Yeah, all in all, a very strong performance from Big, who actually advanced now to the semifinal. And what better opponent than the one we're going to watch today? It's going to be UCAM versus K-Corp. It's going to be a rematch from Spring, which I think is a very important one, because looking back at Spring, that was one of the series that was so close, that semifinal. It was also the first time in the entire tournament we saw K-Corp bleed.
Yeah, and the big thing is, Cinkrof himself has said this was the biggest challenge for them in Spring. This was the biggest opportunity for them to drop out the tournament, and they did manage to win it out against UCAM, but it was such a close series.
Yeah, and honestly, it kind of felt like we were robbed of those 5 games back in Spring. I'm so glad we get to see it now, because watch these team fights that you're on your screen. How close every single one of them was. How close every single game in this series was. The fact that now we're going to get treated to a 5-game series between these two, I cannot wait.
And talking earlier this day to Hadess, and it was like, we want to play K-Corp. We want our revenge, but then you have to look at K-Corp, and K-Corp are the ones that won a back-to-back title. They've won in Spring, and it has never happened before that a team won Spring and Summer in the same year.
Yeah, I mean, there's the potential for that. That's the thing. And as much as they're no longer representing the LFL as a first seed, neither are UCAM, but it always shakes up when we get into EU Masters. There's always a potential for teams to step up in K-Corp. Definitely a team with that potential.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's a story of revenge and glory, and I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out, because it really does feel like the gloves are off. This is going to be team fights. This is going to be going ham. This is going to be making sure that you can go toe-to-toe the entire way through, where one mistake can cost you everything. And that's all that made the difference there for UCAM back in Spring. 1 or 2 errors that gave K-Corp the edge.
Now, we do look at what happened in Spring, and we kind of have to reminisce what is happening right now. I mean, looking what happened in Spring to where we are now, what has happened in the time in between? Do we see some changes coming out on that side? Did we see, things not really, being shaken up might be the best word to say.
Well, I think looking at K-Corp first, the big thing was saw Adam go into the LEC, and he's had a tremendous performance, and obviously he's now going to Worlds. But I will say, Cabochard coming in as replacement, I honestly feel like Cabochard now is a more well-rounded player than Adam was in Spring. And I think with his veterancy, with his performance so far, you can definitely see that, because the team heavily rely on him. They put a lot of resources into Cabochard. It pays off massively, but he also uses that advantage to spread pressure around the map and help out his team.
Yeah, I mean, on the opposite side, right, you're looking across and seeing Hantera kind of stepping in over Plasma. I think this is such a crucial change as well, because Plasma had this massive impact. A lot of people had him teed to go in towards LEC. Having him now step out and having Hantera step in, it's going to be tough for Hantera to fill those shoes. Coming in the mid-split, trying to figure out how his role is going to succeed down in that bottom side of the map, especially when we're looking at the pressure that we put onto the bottom side for UCAM. I think that's now going to see if Hantera can have that same impact. Control that bottom side of the map, then burst out into the map in the same way that Plasma did and take over those games.
And I think a big thing is you look at the trajectory of UCAM. When Plasma left, they were 7-1 in the season. They ended up 10-8 in the regular season. So obviously a lot of sort of growing pains from introducing Hantera, shaking up how your roster's working. But over time, it feels like every game we see them play, they're just getting better and better. And Hantera's really meshing now.
As we do have some time, I want to zoom in a little bit on Cabochard, because Cabochard is, for me, one of the characters. He even mentioned like he might be even a better addition to K-Corp. If we look at gold leads, for example, we see that Cabochard is very influential.
Yeah, he's been absolutely massive. Like, when you look at the gold difference at 15 for K-Corp, it's 1,600 gold. When you look at the gold difference at 15 for Cabochard, it's 1,300 gold. Like, this guy has been instrumental to how this team has played, and it's why we're seeing so much focus towards that top side, and obviously bringing that new lease of life and that change that we're seeing in K-Corp to try and play that quote-unquote more meta style, where you're playing through that top side and your solo lanes.
Then on the other side, Hantera, we've talked a lot about him. I mean, Hantera is a player that, had some shoes to fill, I would say, as we are looking at what K-Corp is doing. I want to move into the early game. The early game for K-Corp is something, they snowball very hard, but they always do it on one particular side on the map.
Yeah, K-Corp definitely look towards that top side of the map. We talk about the jungle support being crucial for these guys as well, looking at Targamas and Cinkrof to enable the top side of the map. These have been one of the strongest jungle support duos that we've had in EU Masters, and certainly that hasn't changed since spring into summer. I expect them to be looking to take over when it comes to the solo lane.
And there has been some moments where there's been oversteps from Corp. We've had them trying to cover too many areas of the map. You know, they commit to a topside play while they're trying to defend bot lane. So the early game definitely hasn't been infallible, but when it goes well, they use that gold so well into the mid game.
Then we have to look at UCAM as well. I mean, UCAM is a team that we have seen evolve, I would say. Maybe we'll get back to that later on. But looking at UCAM and speaking to Hadess, he actually said, like, I feel like our early game is the most attackable. It's more of a weakness on our side. Do you comply with that, Ox?
Yeah, I think they definitely have a strategy in the early game, and that strategy is often leaning towards the bot side to get Rafitta ahead. And they'll do that by using their TPs pretty excessively. They'll throw down multiple TPs from the mid and top laner. The thing is, it doesn't always work. If it goes well, sure, you have an advantage. If it goes badly, like we're seeing in some of these clips, then it ends up really putting them in a hole because they no longer have those TPs, they're sacrificing their solo laners, and has a big knock-on effect.
Yeah, and one of the big things is when you're sacrificing all those TPs to get down to the bottom side of the map, Dreedy will often suffer, and he's most of the time trying to save that TP to get down to that bottom lane, but it means that he's not getting a lot of the resources. They end up trying to give him counter pick in a lot of their drafts because they're like, look, I'm sorry for you, bro. You're just not going to get the tools to try and succeed in that lane. This is all we can give you.
Then looking into that matchup, because Dreedy specifically is being mentioned, Dreedy against Cabochard, I wonder, like, what is going to happen? You'd say they put a lot of investment in bot lane, the TP is being used, but to be able to use the TP, I mean, you need to have your wave set up correctly, you need to have a bit of a prio maybe, or at least have room to move. Do you think Cabochard will give room to move to Dreedy, or is that going to be a very hard one? And is Corp always ahead of the plate?
I feel like it's not even going to come down to Cabochard, right? It's going to come down to when you see Cinkrof and SAKEN leaning up towards the top side. That's going to be where their issue is. But it does mean that if you're getting, heavily threatened in the top lane, you can obviously just back off from the lane. You know you can't stay up in the tower, and you end up TPing bot to make plays. That's typically what we see come out from UCAM.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things as well is that we oftentimes see these more aggressive top laners come out from Corp, right? They like to try and play this 1-3-1 style. They got Twisted Fates, the Jaces, and these kind of things, where they try to play through the side lanes, but they're not quite able to get the map in place. That's why we oftentimes end up seeing them fall back to those team fights where UCAM like to go against them.
Then moving a bit more into the mid game is where we see more team fights develop, because it kind of sounds to me as like top side needs to survive that early game to be relevant in the mid game. Mid game on the side for Corp and UCAM, how do you think that is going to play out among these two teams?
So I think both teams lean heavily into their team fighting in terms of ways that they look to win out the game. I think both of them would say that they're strong team fighters, but I feel like there's a distinct difference. With the side of UCAM, it's more of like this grouped up death ball where that single target selection is very effective. If someone oversteps, if it's a support looking for an engage, they'll quickly disengage, take out that target, and then move forwards with a numbers advantage. But Corp are very different. They have more of an individualistic style where they have multiple carries. So you may see Cabochard looking for a flank. You may see xMatty, serving that backline role, while SAKEN is on a different angle. And as a result, it means these wide split open fights are much more favorable for them.
And I think the thing that really does show that is the kill participation. When you look at across these two teams, they are crazy different. And when you look at UCAM, you can look towards that bottom four and kind of go, okay, cool, this is the core team, right? They're grouping up in that phalanx, working as this death ball, making sure that they can try and protect Rafitta on the back line. Whereas when you look across at Corp, they are very much about these little skirmishes where they can find these advantages, playing more individualistic through their team, as Dan was pointing out, and trying to find success through that.
Looking at these team fights, though, you need to have a source of damage. And when I think of source of damage, I think of AD carries. Rafitta has shown a very important role when it comes to that in the team fights for UCAM. Whereas xMatty is when, he'll perform. I mean, we've seen him for quite some time now in the ERLs. I mean, he's been actually, is he better than what we've seen the years before, or is he quite the same still?
I think it's hard to say, right? I think he's definitely been year on year looking better and better, and it's at that point where people are talking about LEC consistently for this player. But really, it comes down to Corp's performance on top of that. For UCAM, Rafitta is such a massive factor for this team in those late game team fights. He is such a relevant force that they need to enable to find success.
Yeah, and I agree with Ox 100%. I genuinely believe xMatty is one of the best, if not the best AD carry that we have in EU Masters. And for Rafitta, that's going to be a tall task to go up against, especially when again, like, we think it's a death ball. Rafitta is the laser on top. He's the cannon that just wants to beam down everyone. So you're going to see two very distinct styles coming through here, with xMatty trying to be far more self-sufficient on things like the Ezreal, these kind of picks. Whereas when we look across at Rafitta, he's going to be more looking to be that kind of big, heavy damage dealer from the back line.
I mean, we've seen quite a lot of Varus coming out for Rafitta, for example. I mean, Varus is a very good example of how you need to play around that team fight, because Varus in itself is not very mobile. He's very easy to take down, and especially with Cabochard, who, or maybe Corp in its whole, is trying to look for the flank. They really have to take into account, how do we play around Rafitta and how do we keep him safe?
Yeah, and I think the critical thing is locking down any threats to Rafitta, and then you have that burst damage from things like the Varus. Even if Aphelios can just shred single targets, and you look to dispatch them. We do get to see some of the stats between these players. Rafitta and xMatty, obviously, massive factors in this one.
Yeah, and the big thing to look out for here is the damage per minute, right? We're seeing very similar stories, but very different damage percents. Because what we're looking at is Rafitta as being that hard carry. This is the guy that's going to snowball the advantages. When we look across at xMatty, he's got a little bit more wiggle room. Cabochard dealing a lot of damage, SAKEN being that facilitator from the mid lane.
I mean, that was something I wanted to say. When the one has Cabochard, one doesn't, and I kind of need to know how this is going to play out, as we are closing in on the first game of the night. I want to talk a little bit about draft before we head on over to our casters. What do we need to expect when it comes to draft, and especially looking at top lane, because I know AD Carry will perform.
Yeah, so I think for Cabochard, obviously, we're looking for an aggressive pick that you can use to funnel those resources in. Lee Sin's been a big thing for him, but then on the other side, Dreedy being in a stable matchup. But honestly, I feel like bot lane may well be a big focus. We saw that yesterday, and it's going to continue to be so today.
As we are slowly working our way towards the first game of the day between Corp and UCAM, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Viperoon and Foxdrop, who will bring you all the exciting stuff that's going to happen in-game.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you very much, Desk. And hey, look at this. It's Viperoon and Foxdrop coming at you for this Best of 5 series. Foxdrop, first time casting with you. We've shared the desk a couple of times. How are you feeling about this massive quarterfinal?
I'm really excited. K-Corp's always really fun to watch and even more fun to cast. And UCAM as well have been kind of surprising. And I think in general, like the Spanish region as a whole has been pretty good this year. So definitely excited. We're going to get a massive series on our hands.
And we're instantly going to go into Champ Select. We got UCAM on the blue side, K-Corp taking on the red, the Rise. We'll never see it between these two teams, and the Ziggs as well, permanently banned here.
Yep. No changes there. Both these teams have 100% ban rates with those champions. KC have yet to see the Rise, and UCAM have yet to see the Ziggs. I don't think too much is going to change in this series. I really think that's going to stay the same. Cinkro's most played jungler also being taken away here in that Xin Zhao. And there it is, the Lee Sin, the flex for KC. Cabo can play, as mentioned, on the desk, and Cinkrof as well.
And the Rakan taken off table by KC, a really strong support. And the desk talked a lot about how there's so many focal points on both of these teams. It's what we expect from teams in the top 8 of the European Masters. So it's going to be fascinating to see where priority is laid. Will they be looking to get that really nice top lane matchup for Cabochard over on the side of KC? Do you need to prioritize Dreedy so he gets something that he can be stable on? Or do you look towards these two really great marksmen?
Yeah, I think this is where blue side, red side comes into play a lot, and I think you're going to see this switch around. Both teams will probably want to test out each side and see how it's working for them, because you do have the benefit of the first pick, which I think this Viego is absolutely solid first pick right here. You've gotten rid of like 3 powerhouse junglers right now. You're relegating Cinkrof down to something like the Trundle or something like that. But as you said, like, sure, you get the first pick with UCAM, but now you have the counter pick for that top side if you really want it for Cabochard. And man, Cabo has just been absolutely phenomenal so far. He's so ridiculously good. This man is actually just something else. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that last pick going over for him.
They could look towards xMatty here. The Aphelios locked in. Thresh is still on the table as a support option if Targamas wanted to go that way, and that'd be a really strong bot lane. Maybe they leave the jungle a little bit longer, knowing what they're coming up against most likely.
Yeah, it could be that as well. Aphelios being paired with aggressive supports doesn't tend to work out too well. So as you say, maybe something like a Thresh or something along those lines that you want to pick something a bit more supporty. Going for that Trundle, on the other hand, though, this will most likely be Cinkrof. It is a flex. You can put this down into the support role as well. I would put money on it being in the jungle. It's what we've seen mostly. It's kind of like the holy trinity of Trinity. Oh, that's the word I'm looking for. The holy trinity of junglers plus Trundle. So not too surprised to see that one taken away. And UCAM very quick to respond right here. Rafitta and Hantera. It's going to be that Jinx Thresh. So KC not going to get that protective support in that Thresh for the Aphelios, and instead it's UCAM going to have that machine gun down that bot lane, that huge scaling AD carry paired with the Thresh.
But they will get the LeBlanc in the mid lane, which is a really nice pickup for them. It leaves them a little bit open if the Trundle isn't going to be the support going down there, but a really strong champion for SAKEN down here.
Yeah, for sure. So LeBlanc is always... LeBlanc is just like the Lee Sin of the jungle, you know, of the mid lane. Like, every good EU mid laner plays LeBlanc and is terrifying on it. So whenever it's in meta, you got to be scared. And SAKEN, obviously, one of the better mids we have here in the entire tournament. He's great on that champion, going to get that one, and now he gets to ban away some of those mids as well to get that favorable matchup and really put Baca on the back foot here in game 1.
Well, let's see where else is going to be taken off the table. We've got the Braum removed, obviously that safe support option. Gnar and Twisted Fate, two really nice solo laners, especially the Gnar for Dreedy, something that you want maybe a little bit more safety on. That option is going to be a nightmare to lose, but we'll have to see what other supports potentially could be taken away by UCAM, or if they want to look more towards that top lane.
Yeah, I think this is going to be quite interesting here because Targamas has a pretty wide champion pool, so he can do a lot of different stuff right here. Sure, you know, you've got some things taken away, that Braum being banned away as well. But you know, he has even played that Trundle. Like I said, I expect it to be in the jungle, but you know, maybe if they want to go something funky, then that's something there as well. Even the Gragas, I think, would not be a bad choice here. Some displacement against low mobility. Instead, it is just going to be that Leona. So Aphelios plus Leona is a little bit... it's a bit unorthodox as a combo, because you don't have a lot of peel, a lot of protection for xMatty on that Aphelios, but still a very, very strong support in the meta and really good versus the likes of Jinx.
Oh, I really like this double lock-in coming in from UCAM at the end. Camille in the top side for Dreedy, and the Galio most likely going into the mid laner's hands, and two really great champions that they can look to play around other lanes with, or can look to play for themselves.
Ooh, all right. Here are your drafts for game number 1. I like this from UCAM, I have to say. I think they've got some really good combos. You know, Jinx, Thresh, Camille, Galio, really solid stuff. Viego obviously is just nutty as a champion right now. They've got somewhat of like a... Yeah, they just got everything they wanted here. I think that's really good start for them in this game 1. On the other side for KC, a lot of power picks, a lot of individual strength in that solo lane. I look to see Cinkrof try and make some plays around that. Maybe you can get something going down in the mid. If you can also try and punish the Camille, or just get a little bit of skirmishing going, that would favor the French side.
As you said, it's two really exciting matchups, and with these lineups, they've kind of built into what the Des was talking about and how they like to play League of Legends. But my one question here is, you talked about the Leona not being so... not being a great fit for the Aphelios, and xMatty, the Des said, wants to be quite defensive, wants to be kind of laid back and will carry later, it's fine. Yeah. Is this Leona just going to be being with Aphelios till level 4, then going, sick one xMatty, you've done a great job, see you later, and going around the map making life miserable for some other members of the UCAM roster?
Honestly, that's what I'm expecting. It's kind of just how support plays nowadays. You don't really spend a lot of time in that bot side. And to be honest, the way that KC play as well, specifically, I think they're really good in that early game. And a lot of the reason is because of Targamas with his moving around and the way that he can combo with Cinkrof and with SAKEN. xMatty is way experienced enough to know how to play safe in that bot side. They don't have a particularly strong dive option on the other side as well for UCAM to punish Matty. But you're still an Aphelios, still going to be conscious of that threat coming your way.
And it will be a case of if xMatty can play safely correctly, because if you get caught out by the Thresh, maybe a roaming Galio coming on down, or the Viego, one misstep, and things become pretty unpleasant. But we're on to the Rift now. We've got UCAM on the blue side, Corp on the red. First game of our best of 5 quarterfinal. Foxdrop, which one of these compositions are you preferring?
Well, I have to say straight out of the gate, I like what UCAM's done here. I think you've got some good combinations with your roster. The champion synergy is pretty good. Multiple across the board as well there. And UCAM, I just think in general, it's going to be such an interesting series to watch, such an explosive series. I love what they've done in this first game with that draft, and I think you're really kind of spreading KC into a type of draft that they're not 100% familiar with. A lot of first times coming through here, specifically in that jungle and in that top, and Aphelios as well. 3 champions here that they haven't played yet at all in EU Masters. We'll see whether KC can adapt to that, whether they've got more tricks up their sleeve.
The big question of, is it lack of comfort or is it secret tech? Are these their top champions really? But they just don't tell us about it before we get into competitive games.
True.
But what are we expecting to see in the early game? Where should I be keeping my eyes peeled? Is there a lane that's really going to be buzzing with action?
I think anytime you've got Leona, there's always like an option for you to keep your eyes on that. But into Thresh, Thresh can flay that away, as we're going to get a bit of an engage there.
Ooh, Ignore's coming down, and the damage coming on through to Targamas. 1 flash, and that's first blood. Going over to Rafitta. Perfect start for UCAM.
That's just a simple level 2 diffy right there. You push, you get that early level 2 with that level advantage. You go in, easy as you like right there for Targamas going down. Speaking of going down,
Galio. It's going to be simple as that. Instant return, just solo kills across the board, really.
Right, okay. Not what I was expecting out of this this series to start with. Jungler's not even getting involved in these kills. A 2v2 kill down in the bot side. Just get that level 2, go for the engage, and disrespect, honestly, from Targamas, saving his flash quite late on that one, but perfect start for Rafitta in that bot side. And here, Baca, like, what happens here? He just goes to ward. This is eerily so. Do you remember that solo kill that Perks got onto oh my goodness, who was it? It was Tanner time onto Demonte, where he just walked up and just basic attacked him to death. That reminds me a lot of that. Shades of the LCS in that play. Pretty unforgivable for Baca, not gonna lie, but a good start there for SAKEN.
Yeah, excellent for the LeBlanc to get that kill lead, and sadly, you'd expect that to be first blood usually, but no, in the bot lane, we talked about it being xMatty who needs to be careful about getting caught out with wayward hooks, but Targamas this time around didn't leave bot lane soon enough, is what he's going to be saying in comms. Needs to get out of there, level 2, have the best impact. Haynes, chilling on a ward, will still attempt to make the gank work.
Just going to get this shove in on this tower. Baca, because of the timing of his death, didn't get to buy anything. He just went back into the Shadow Realm, TP'd back in. Pretty sad news for him, because he wants to be moving around this map. He's got the Predator on that Galio as well, so he wants to be getting those boosts ASAP. We're going to get a gank in the top side. UCAM coming up. KC no better.
Yeah, Dreedy really quick to just move away, and of course we'll be able to dive out of action if things get too dicey. So absolutely fine where they are, and we'll be able to move away. But pretty explosive start we've had here so far. As you said, Dive Jungler's been involved. xMatty though might be caught in the chomp. There's a lot of damage coming on through on to him. The Jinx is going to follow through with the lantern. The damage coming down. It's another kill coming over for Rafitta. But here comes the teleport. KZ don't want to let the spot go down. It's SAKEN with the kill in pocket, going towards the Jinx, trying to get the damage. Will she be able to do so? I don't know. There's the zap. Dreedy comes on in as well for the stun, and SAKEN in the alcove will go down. Rafitta's still alive. One more auto will be enough. Targamas secures the kill, but I don't think Leona gets away with their life. No, it's going to be double for Dreedy and 3 for UCAM.
Beautiful play right there from UCAM. The bot lane is absolutely smurfing it right here. Hantera landing all of these hooks. Rafitta with a fancy feed to dodge out those skill shots and stay alive as well. Absolutely sublime from the Spanish bot lane. Let's take another look at it. What a great hook onto xMatty here. Threading the needle straight onto the chompers. And watch his flash. Flash, lads. Oh, God. It's just so beautiful. It's so coordinated. Really, really well played. And then keep your eyes on Rafitta here as well, because he dodges out the change from SAKEN, which keeps him alive for long enough for Dreedy to come in. Beautiful. He almost just doesn't die in this play at all. Really, really nice stuff. Beautifully played. And this Jinx, the scaling champion, is off to a beautiful start in the early game.
Early game kills on Jinx are absolutely terrifying, and we're going straight into another team. Back gets a really nice taunt on. There's the death, and there's damage coming on through. SAKEN has to dive away. Targamas following forward, has Cinkrof in support. They're looking towards Hadess. He's going to be able to dive out low, and this time around, everyone survives.
A 3 for 3, but kind of cheating for KC because they had the Gangplank ulti as well. The half-man presence in that situation, forcing UCAM out of it. And now you're going to get control of the bot side of the river, while the rest of UCAM has to run away in base. I don't think this is enough for you to get that dragon, but just getting that crab is going to be decent consolation prize. It's enough. And yeah, a lot of fighting so far in this game. So many skirmishes.
I'm really interested in how this game has started up, though, because the devs said this. They were like, KC, top side. They're going to be playing around there. UCAM can kind of handshake and make all the plays bot. UCAM have held up their side of the bargain, and it's just now that Karmine Corp are looking towards this top side, looking towards Dreedy on the Camille. Actually, just going to go for the invade in the end. But it's been a case of UCAM have been responding with their game plan, but K-Corp haven't really started theirs.
I think it's a bit surprising as well the way this game's gone down. I would have given the skirmishing power over to KC, but hang on, we're going to get another one. Ooh, good taunt by
nice
Baca.
Triple taunt from Baca, and they're going to be able to get the death sentence down onto Cinkrof. A decent amount of damage going on to Trundle, but the Galio needs to be careful as well. He'll be fine, and it will just be the one kill going over to UCAM.
Bit greedy, I think, there by the French side. Pathing into that top side, getting that counter jungling. Not too bad by itself, but good response from UCAM. They have a lot of answers right here. If we take a look at how these teams have performed in EU Masters so far, it's been KC as a dominating early game team, and UCAM's early game really hasn't been that good. In fact, they're off to such a great start here. It means a lot more than just that 1k gold at the top of your screen.
It means items are going to come through earlier on important members. Rafitta is going to be the kind of Jinx that's going to be on 2 items before your marksman gets 1.5, and that's going to be absolutely, completely unpleasant. As Dreedy looks for a little engaged. There's the ultimatum going through, and Galio will follow up as well. Cabochard going to get taunted through, but might be okay because Dreedy's too low to follow.
Cabo has played this one really well. Holy moly. That was pretty much pixel perfect play right there from Cabo. And
Shelly? I'm shocked. I'm shocked. What?
As if that's just that.
Observe, we're gonna need a replay of that one, but we'll skirt around it until we can see that one again. But
Yo, Shelly just swiped Baca off of the map. Living up to his name on that play. That was a pure Baca move right there. Holy moly. Oh, Cabo, mate. Yeah, well done, bud. There's his first kill of the game. He's roaring ahead in this one. Huge CS lead. Oh, God, we're going to see it again. Yeah, okay, so this was really well played. The jump into Cabo, like, he times everything perfectly with his barrels. Like, the small, minor mechanics of this Galio play are really, really good. The fact that he's just able to soak up the Galio as well is great. As if this one-shots Baca.
Shelly's mad, you know. just backhands Baca back to spawn. They got the Rift Herald though. Hadess has that one in pocket, so you know, one for Rift Herald's usually worth it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, to get the Herald, you're right. Not too bad right there. Dreedy's going to be a little bit upset about that one though. Cabo was already doing great in this top side, and he's just been given another kill. Oh dear, I'm still not quite over that play, but anyway, it goes on. Huge wave pushing into the top side right here. You do have the Herald on Hadess. He's going to keep your eye on him. He's recoiling in this bot side. We'll see what he decides to do. What lane he wants to put this one in. There is merit to putting it all across this map, really. Do you snowball the Jinx in the bot? Keep her accelerated. Do you try and unlock your Galio so that he can move around the map? Or do you punish and dive with Dreedy in the top side? Looks like he's pathing towards the top side of the map right now. Let's see what he does with that Herald.
Let's see if he meets Cinkrof on the way, who's also on that top side. The Mapser could look to shield Cabo a little bit, if possible, if there is a gank in the offing. But Dreedy hanging around in that bush, looking to make a play happen, but it'll be Trundle who can respond first. Cabo, not too overextended, though, should be able to back away. But look at that total gold. The Jinx injection is mad.
Wow, that is actually huge. That was way more than I thought we were going to see. KC, though, they're going to get countered in this play. SAKEN is on his way.
Okay. Nothing happening just yet. The teleport was enough from Baca just to dissuade any kind of play coming in from K-Corp.
Yeah, but that's still advantage KC on that one. Using his TP, getting that one out for free, really means that he's going to be limited in the next play that he can make. He does have his ulti, obviously. He is a Galio, but no TP is always nice to take away from a solo laner. He's going to get that shove in mid as well. It does protect the side lanes, being able to do that and get the teleport out of a mid laner or out of a solo laner in general.
Is it a little bit less valuable on the Galio just because he can wander up with Predator and Heroic Entrance somewhere, though?
Yeah, sure, for sure. Like in comparison, absolutely. But the thing is, like now the punishment for him roaming is higher because he can't just TP back to lane, right? So if he does go walkies and wanders around, yeah, he'll be able to join a play. But then the opportunity for you to get something on the other side of the map is greatly increased because he can't just get back into lane.
He's bought a single no return.
Exactly, basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Should have got that day pass, mate.
The whole day. And it's going to be bot lane that's going to get the investment coming through from investment banker Hadess and the Rift Herald. And we'll have to see how much gold is actually earned, and maybe they could look to try and break. They're going to be able to break down this tower.
Yep, there it goes. All right, plan accelerate Rafitta is in full swing. The Des mentioned it. UCAM live and die by the performance of Rafitta. He has been very good so far in EU Masters, and UCAM are very good at playing around him. And yeah, blimey, look at that. The difference between xMatty and Rafitta, 2,000 gold at 12 minutes, 4k to 6k, absolutely nutty. And even compared to the second person, he's another 1.5 ahead of that as well. Rafitta is turbocharged right now. He's going to move around the map, and UCAM is going to play with him and try and bring down these towers and these plates while they've still got time.
That's the thing, there's a minute and a half to get even more gold onto this Jinx just through plates, running towards mid with members of the team to keep Rafitta alive. K-Corp gonna have to find a solution to the pushing and to the Jinx in the later stages, because otherwise you've got a Jinx with one item more than everyone else on the map. It's gonna be super unpleasant.
And don't forget as well, this Jinx has a pocket Thresh, so even more to keep her safe, even more to just enable what she wants to do, just stand there and make plays. It's going to be kind of hard to get her down, to catch her out of position. Woof! But that is going to do a decent amount of punishment, and as the dragon is spawning in 5 seconds, yeah, I think Casey's just going to walk away with this one.
Yeah, it should be pretty simple. It's only the second dragon of the game, so it's not the biggest loss for UCAM, but this could be maybe a light in the darkness of how this early game has gone. Yes, they haven't been set up too well in the gold department. Yes, objectives aren't falling their way anywhere else, but if they can get themselves a Dragon Soul, that could do good work in the later game team fights, where they do still have tools that can work.
Absolutely, and it's going to be the Cloud Soul for this game. Now, Cloud Soul generally is kind of clowned on a little bit. Not really as highly rated as some of the other souls, but I think in context it can be really, really good in certain situations. And I think in this game as well, like you've got champions here with low mobility that can just pop their ult and then get that massive injection of speed, which will be really, really nice. You know, someone like the Aphelios or even the Jinx and the Thresh, Leona, the Trundle, Gangplank, all of these champions getting that injection of speed definitely can use that in these team fights. It's not going to be terrible. KC off to that 2-dragon start as well, might be able to create a point of pressure as this game goes on to force UCAM into contesting these dragons.
That being said, UCAM have shown so far this game and have shown so far in this tournament, they're perfectly happy playing around the bot side. That's where they love to be, and as long as Rafitta is around, they're going to have an excellent opportunity to take these team fights, assuming that the Jinx doesn't get blowed up. We saw how much damage SAKEN could do a little bit earlier. Cabochard can also probably do a decent whack if he's given time, a couple of seconds to get some abilities down onto this Jinx. So it's going to be a case of how can KC solve this problem and how can UCAM mitigate any risk.
Exactly, that's very well put. I think for Jinx, like you've got protection on your team, you got Thresh, you know, you got Galio to collapse on you as well. But there's just a lot coming through from KC. A lot's going to be flying your way. You have to still play it really, really well, despite having those get out of jail free cards. Even the cleansing pocket as well. It's not going to be easy to navigate for Rafitta. So the fact that he's ahead right now is great for UCAM, but it still comes down to execution. That's still something we're going to have to keep our eyes on in these fights.
Hadess is going to get revenge onto this Rift Herald, but SAKEN is their backer. Let's be careful. Full health bar this time though, so it should be okay. Hantera there as well, but KC not interested in giving this one up for free this time around. They're moving members immediately. SAKEN trying to get some damage down, won't be able to catch because the Lantern was utilized. But Rift Herald could maybe reset. Cabochard throwing the ultimate down didn't really achieve too much. Now there's going to be a full-on fight as Baca once again going to be the focus, but going to be able to back away. 2k on this Rift Herald. Neither team really wants to give it up, but KC just want to watch a reset. They don't really want to fight for it right now, but it's not going to be able to, and Hadess will pick up the second eye.
That was all KC wanted right there, just to get that reset and to delay UCAM that tempo on the Herald, because now you can just run it down mid and make that, slap that down and make that play if you fancy it. Because Cabo was just chilling bot side. He was very happy just doing his thing. SAKEN as well had the inside track in top. Like, they weren't really interested in fighting for the Herald, but if you can delay it there by getting that reset, then that really does do pretty decent work. Unfortunately, not able to do it. UCAM going to pick that one up. And the side lane's low. Under pressure from KC. Top has fallen, bot is very, very low.
Hantera looking for the collapse here onto SAKEN, who's already used the jump away. Will use the lantern to maybe bring the Baca in, but wasn't interested. So it's just going to peter out as nothing happened. But I want to see where the second Rift Herald is used, because Orc said this on desk. It's a great sign of how teams can close out games early. And UCAM, they're in the lead, but they do want to be in a more dominating, controlling position. And this second Herald, if it can take down a tower, if it can really create some pressure, maybe even on the bot side where they've already got an outer down, this could be where they start really motoring forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to ask yourself the question, like, do we want to put some love to Dreedy to get him to like more balance him out against the Gangplank? Because you're at this point in the game where you're not really laning versus him as much. Like, sure, your lane assignment, you might be seeing Gangplank's scruffy face quite a lot. But the fact that Gangplank was able to just shoot you constantly with Grassy Undying, you know, it's not a punishment that you necessarily have to take for free anymore, because towers are down, you know, the map's opened up, you can just engage on a Gangplank, you can just fight him. And so if you do get a little bit of an injection into gold, maybe you can actually just bring Gangplank down in that pure 1v1. You don't have to take that poke from him anymore. But alternatively, I think what's most likely just going to happen is you stick your eggs in the Rafitta basket, you play around him, you try and siege with him.
Oh, you try and catch out Cinkrof. Is going to be forced to flash away. The eye comes down, so Rifty will be involved. Targamas will be able to back away, but a decent amount of damage coming through from SAKEN. He needs to go back, though, as no one from KC really wants to commit to this fight. The charge should come off. xMatty gets a decent hold, but a lot of damage taken, looking for a target. It will be Hantera who's exploded. And now Hadess will have to slink away to the side. Can he get a re-engage? Can he catch xMatty, who stepped forward on his own? Interesting decision making there, but will be able to flash away. And it was a bait all along. The damage comes through. Dreedy gets shut down by LeBlanc on the side. Baca falls once again, this time to Cinkrof on the troll. And it's a good fight for Corp, no one dying.
UCAM started it up. They thought they had it with that hook, with the pick. It was not to be. Perfect fight from KC. 3 kills, plus with the timer of the dragon. It's just spawned right now. That's 3 dragons in pocket for KC. 1 away from that soul. It's a good start for the French representatives here in their quarterfinal matchup.
Absolutely, and we said that they were the ones who liked to take the lead early. They haven't done that this game, but they're setting themselves clear win conditions, and that play could have gone so wrong if xMatty had just taken a couple more autos, would have gone down before the rest of the team had responded. But as it is, almost the perfect team fight. Get the objective off the back of it, and now they can look where to apply pressure next. Exactly.
It's all coming up KC right now. Despite that great early game, as you mentioned, from UCAM, just a little bit, it all comes down to the fighting, you know, just a little bit too much, the Spanish team. And it starts off pretty good, you know, you do get that hook, you get the collapse in as well. But Hantera falling down, just so much damage from SAKEN. Like, the skirmishing power of KC is just nutty. They're so good at this. Like, when this re-engage with that ulti from Aphelios, the ulti from Gangplank, and the combo from LeBlanc as well, it's so much damage, and UCAM are just not expecting that. The turn is absolutely huge. I wonder what Baca's thinking here. Yeah.
Pillar, yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately for him, he just steps back up trying to get that all in, and yeah, it's just those 2 last kills there, a bit unnecessary, but still good stuff right there. My goodness, xMatty, mate, I did not appreciate that. 4,000 damage. Yeah, okay. xMatty's doing xMatty things.
Truly. Both of the marksmen are now doing things that could be described as disgusting, which is always great to see, because these are the 2 players, and this is the role that we've seen in European Masters so far, being super important, super impactful in a lot of cases. 2 of the strongest marksmen we've got in this tournament, both now firing on both cylinders. That could only be good for the entertainment value, if nothing else.
Absolutely, especially as this game starts approaching more like grouping up and team fighting. Those ADCs are just going to thrive right here. It was all Rafitta in the lane phase, wasn't it? But xMatty just doing his thing, just quietly being the carry for KC. And he's such a good player, man. We've seen xMatty knocking about the regional leagues for a while. Obviously, I have a particular interest in his career since he is British, good old British players, and we do need a bit more of them in the pro scene. But you know what? I'm holding that because, yeah. Okay, that's illegal. It's punishing me for being very pro-Britain. That was my bad. Sorry. Sorry, Targamas, mate. That one's on me.
Targamas isn't even British. He's just taking the brunt, and SAKEN actually going to be able to dive away. Don't want to make it double insult to injury. As LeBlanc trying to escape, Hadess considering chasing, but won't look to do so this time around.
Now we just play the vision game, setting up around objectives. Is what I'm looking for. Very, very exciting stuff. You just push it, sweep out vision, plant your own vision, and then you try and catch the enemy team when they try and do the same. Baron will be the next objective, at least at this point, because both teams can take it very, very fast. So there's going to be pressure there. You're going to have to pay respect to that, because if you let it slip for just a second, you're on the wrong side of the map, etc., that Baron will die very, very quickly. Neither team wants that. Definitely want to avoid getting that one snuck away in a close game, especially in game number one. You know, got a lot to build on from this game. You don't want to lose it to something cheesy like that.
Building the tempo in the series is going to be great for either of these teams, especially because the nature of this win is probably going to be very slim margins, just because of what we've seen so far and from what we've known from these two teams going forward. Hantera put down the Lantern, but the Pillar wasn't letting anyone pass, Lantern or not. But getting a win in such a close manner is going to fill you with such confidence moving forward. And on the flip side, it's going to be pretty crushing to be so close to win both of these teams and then to lose out in that first game. Maybe the heads drop just a little. Two very professional teams, of course, but that's always going to weigh on the mind just a little bit.
Absolutely. Especially once you know, sure, right now we're in game one, but once you kind of progress into like game 3, game 4, if that happens to be a thing. Hang on now, because Cabo is just going to do a butt ton of damage to Hadess here.
Oh,
ouch.
Hadess. He's going to stumble
yeah,
away.
TP flank. They're going for it. Casey's going
Ashe
for
is
it.
going to go for the fight. Hadess needs to be very careful. He's the one who's low health, but Hantera and Dreedy are both going to be able to get out as well, giving him some support as the Galio comes on through to the bot side to supply even more escort as they will get Viego away. But Rafitta, he's all on his lonesome.
He was. I was a little bit nervous from right there. Dragon spawning in 25 seconds. Both teams are posturing for that one. KC almost had that flank play. And Terra's going to get chunked. Oh my goodness, so much damage.
That's not a good time, but in the bot side, the fight's already started. Hadess has been taking solo. He goes down, and that's their smite. Targamas looking to chase on towards Dreedy, has support behind him. Will be able to get the stun down. Cabochard doing a decent amount of damage. SAKEN doing even more, but will not be able to get the chain down for the stun. And now Gangplank's going to walk away. They got what they came for, though. They got Viego, and surely Dragon Soul to follow.
That's it, easy as you like it. 24 minutes on the clock, and KC is gonna have this Dragon Soul. It was a great early game from UCAM. To be honest, they were in control of the early game, but it was KC who were able to find the Dragons. The fact they've been able to get such an early Soul is not really indicative of how this game has gone, but just really the fact that KC are able to find these plays and these picks right before Dragon comes up. It's beautiful stuff, and there goes Soul.
So now we've got the Elder Dragon to consider in 6 minutes time, but how is this Soul going to impact KC's comp? I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but just remind us, what are we going to be expecting from them now that they have this resource?
So the Cloud Soul, when you pop your ulti, you do a bit of zoomies, and that's great for champions who are low mobility and who like press ult and then want to move and do stuff. So if you think about Leona ulti, you know, Aphelios ulti, Trundle, Gangplank even, they slap that down and then they keep going and they pick up the tempo. Now, as far as the optics of the team fights go, the last 2 fights have really been UCAM in position, not really scared of anything, and then KC just flip the switch and they go and they run UCAM down. Now imagine that, but with everyone moving 10 times faster. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but a little bit faster. That's going to be even more explosive for KC and even harder for UCAM to deal with.
Ooh, Karmine needs to be careful. The Galio coming on for its 2-on-1 against the Gangplank, but he's just going to step away once again. Damage on the Dreedy was pretty drastic, but he has stepped up a little bit too far potentially. Looking for a way out, will be able to find it. And now xMatty wandering on through. Frustio landed onto both. There's the double root, but the knockout from Baca will help Dreedy get away. Not going to help him though, as xMatty picks up the kill.
SAKEN is looking for Dreedy, but he's got the TP. Is he out? He's out. Yeah. He's out. Oh, that was very close. Cabochard, mate, come on, bro. It's just not fair, really, is it? He's breaking ankles over here. He's doing so much damage as well. He's so good.
Gets quite well out of death sentence, but it's not going to matter. There's Rafitta. Oh, that's not good. And SAKEN coming through is even worse. The shutdown onto LeBlanc.
Okay, I blinked, I missed it. Rafitta's dead. SAKEN gonna get another one into his boot right here. And that's gonna be the big purple one as well. Everything is coming up. KC, the French team with a great start in game 1 right here. 26 minutes on the clock, firmly in control. Dragon Soul, the kill lead, and now a Baron.
This isn't exactly what we've expected to see, the way these two teams play, but just Cabochard, it is cheating, isn't it?
It really is. Like, he just flashes out, he dodges everything, he sidesteps again, he sidesteps again. Oh man, it's just tough. And like, meanwhile, while this is all happening, like, you can't see the scoreboard right here, but Cabo's not only just finessing people in these fights, he's like 80 CS up on Dreedy right now as well. It's just crazy, man. The way that he's playing fights, the pressure he's having to, it's just a little bit too much. And Rafitta, like I said, you've got protection. You know, you've got a Thresh around you, you've got Galio ulti, but it doesn't matter. It still comes down to execution so much. Oh my good lord. Yeah, I mean, it's still hard to navigate, as you can see, and Rafitta's going to go down there.
Baron is on the side of KC now as well, which we talked about not wanting to give over. This is going to allow them to get some of that sieging done, take down these inner towers, you've got to imagine, or at least that's going to be the focus. And UCAM, in these past few engagements, haven't really been able to stand up to the LFL side. How are they going to be able to defend this?
Well, that's a good question. If you take a look at the wave clear, it's really just down on Jinx. Winds of War isn't going to do a huge amount for you at this point, especially against Baroned up minions. I don't think KC can push the issue and go for a dive, but to be perfectly honest, stranger things have happened, especially if you're able to get a chunk from over the wall, either by like the barrels from Gangplank or just like hopping over from LeBlanc. Either way, if someone takes a little bit of poke right here, that is going to set up the dive. Easy peasy. And here it comes.
Yeah, here's the dive. Damage coming through from SAKEN, but it's Hantera the focus. He's going to be forced to back away, but the tower will go down. They can look to push the issue a little bit further towards this inhibitor. They've still got a decent wave, but some resources were burned on that dive. Rafitta goes well below half health, though, from xMatty sniping, and there's the ultimate from Cabochard. He's done, and the inhibitor tower will be done soon after. Cabo's now here in the fight, looking to keep members under their Nexus towers before returning to his objective. Inhibitor 1 goes down, and Inhibitor 2 will surely follow.
Absolutely insane. The pace of this game has just flipped on its head. UCAM are winning it, and then all of a sudden they're in this spot. They're hiding in their base. This might just be the game.
It could be the last fight. Baca goes very low, gets a stun down, but it's burning from Ignite. Dreedy goes in, gets the ultimate, breaks on the fight, but it's not going to be enough as Galio follows through, but they both just die. Karmine Corp, with the 29 minutes on the clock, will be able to take down the Nexus. They're padding their KDAs at this point, but Cinkrof doesn't care. He bashes the Nexus, and they're 1-0 up in this quarterfinal.
What a showing from KC. It doesn't matter they weren't able to take that early game. That was beautiful turnaround in those skirmishes, in those fights. Holy moly, they did such a good job. The execution right there was phenomenal. And I'm a bit worried, though, if I'm KC, because that was a great start. Rafitta got ahead. That's exactly the game plan they wanted. And they still kind of just crumbled in the dust. Gonna have to think about that going into game 2.
I mean, the start was there. MVP for K-Corp, obviously Shelly, because when that kill went down, things started going the other way. You know, it just takes one pick sometimes. But no, they were just Cabochard. If he's going to play like that this series, I don't know what you can look to do.
I don't know, man. Turn down the difficulty if you can, mate. I don't know. That's the only suggestion I have.
Just in chat, just like, can we nerf Gangplank? Champion's broken. I don't know. He just doesn't get hit by anything. But we're going to jump to a short break. And luckily, when we come back, there's going to be the amazing Analyst desk going to be able to talk us through all of the plays in that game. So don't go anywhere. See you in a few minutes.
Champions!
K-Corp start off strong as they are looking for their back-to-back European Master title. They open up the score 1-0 against UCAM, who started strong but fell short at the end.
Yeah, and honestly, it was rough because they really did have such a great start. And you see that Jinx getting fed, you're like, this should be easy sailing, but K-Corp found a way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that was kind of coming through their solo laners, right? I mean, we saw Cabochard stepping up massively. We saw the same for SAKEN, and kind of being able to play a bit of a different game than we were expecting, right? Like, when we initially saw these two drafts come through, we were all kind of looking, going, wait, shouldn't they be swapped? Aren't these the other way around?
Yeah, because let's start talking about that team comp. Looking at the team comp and looking at what we set up actually in the pre-show is like, we expect for UCAM, UCAM to play through bot lane, but when you look at the draft, it tells something else, like you already mentioned.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was looking, all right, cool. We've got this Jinx into Aphelios. You get that nice shove in bot. That's kind of self-sufficient. Let's look at that Camille Galio combo, because that is such a potent combo in that top side and something that you see so traditionally work when you hit those two ultimates. But we didn't really get to see that. Baca kind of getting pushed in behind in the early stages, and I think Dreedy really struggled in the top lane.
I think the big thing was we saw that TP come out from Dreedy, and it's hard to call it the wrong play because he got 2 kills, right? Which is normally a great thing, but he missed so much farm in the top side that despite being, you know, getting the reward of those kills, he fell behind in XP, he fell quite a bit behind compared to Cabochard, and then because Baca was also behind when they made that top lane play, it just failed, and we saw the Gangplank become immortal.
And then looking at K-Corp, they wouldn't mind playing it slow, and if you look at this, what happened here, I don't think it's usually supposed to happen, does it, Dagda?
No, I mean, I've kind of been looking at UCAM's bot lane kind of gone, all right, you know what, they have their moments, but it hasn't been like all too breathtaking. This performance from Hantera and Rafitta was unreal, especially Hantera. I don't know how minions don't have hitboxes for this guy, but the hooks were insane.
It was so consistent, so flawless, and I feel like every time he used an ability, it felt so measured. It felt like exactly calculated to get the impact he wanted. It was really flawless play, which is why it's so mind-blowing they lost, but it was moments like this where you saw K-Corp approach the team fights very effectively, the LeBlanc diving in to finish off kills, and UCAM just started to struggle.
I mean, I think it's especially a moment like this. Like, you are in a good position, you can play differently, but they keep looking for these team fights or something. I don't know what they want to do, but one thing is for sure, it doesn't work for them.
Yeah, the two big things that I was looking at for UCAM when they got into that position was, right, you've got this big Jinx, maybe you want to try and play it 1-3-1, try and have your Galio kind of move around the map and support things, but they'd already fallen behind the solo laners because they couldn't really go for that. And then one of the things we were highlighting as well was UCAM playing this death ball style where we didn't get to see it. We went into those individual skirmishes, those pick potentials that gave the moments to the solo laners.
And I think a massive thing for me is I look at this comp, I'm like, okay, so you press Camille R, you press Galio R, you kill a target, and then you get Viego reset, you get the Jinx reset. It seems so simple in execution, but it was K-Corp's beautiful positioning to just mean to win any outlying targets. One of the things I talked about when I talked about UCAM's fighting style is if someone oversteps, they jump on them and capitalize. If no one oversteps, what can they do?
But then we need to focus on what happened in bot lane. We mentioned already, Hantera was playing out of his mind. The way he played the Thresh, that actually ended up Rafitta being a very, very big carry at that point already, especially on a Jinx who gets 1, 2, 3 kills even, a lot of plates. That should take off. That is your win condition at that point.
Yeah, and oftentimes what we'll see in those moments is that, okay, let's take this bot lane turret, which I think they did phenomenally for UCAM. We even saw the Rift Tower being placed down to that bottom lane. But the issue came after that, when you would usually rotate Jinx towards mid and then play out through the strong 1-3-1 with a big old push in mid lane as well, because that Jinx outranges the Aphelios. You take mid lane structures, you can play out through that 1-3-1 setup. It's not what we got though, because we already highlighted Dreedy fell massively far behind. Baca 0-4 on this Galio when we got to the mid game. They didn't have the strengths in side lanes to enable UCAM's strong AD carry to continue being a force in the map.
That's the thing, is UCAM put all their eggs in the Rafitta basket, and I mean, it paid off. I mean, Hantera, watching these clips back, just really flawless Thresh play. But the problem is, League of Legends is 5-5 game, and K-Corp had multiple carry options that they could rely on, lean on, and as a result, the Jinx alone was just not enough. Especially Jinx playing into LeBlanc Gangplank. It's like, if they press Cannon Barrage on you, you're in a really rough spot. You can't team fight standing on a Cannon Barrage. If LeBlanc exists, you can't really team fight either, and that was the problem there.
And then we do need to look at K-Corp as well, because UCAM obviously dropped the ball here. They were in a good position, but one of the win conditions on the side of K-Corp, or should I say 2 win conditions, is their solo laners, looking at SAKEN and looking at Cabochard.
Yeah, they just popped off massively. Like, seeing how strong these guys were. We saw Cabochard kind of taking that 1v2 in the top lane with maybe a little bit of a helping hand coming through from Rift Herald as well at one stage, but they were phenomenal. I think SAKEN as well stepping up big to get some of these solo kills.
Yeah, and I am full of praise for SAKEN. I think he's been absolutely monstrous in this tournament, but I have to be critical of Baca because realistically, Galio into LeBlanc, you shouldn't be dying. That just should not be happening. Kind of miscalculated a couple of these plays, and he looked lost.
Even the way that he interacted on the map with the Galio, right? We even saw the casters talking about it where they used that TP top instead of just walking top when you've got the Galio ultimate available to synergize with the Hextech ultimatum. There was a lot of kind of missteps coming through like this that just made that mid-game so much more difficult, and you never really got to see it take off then when the bot lane had already gotten rolling.
And I think there's so many moments where you see them trying to pull off that combo onto Cabochard, and Cabochard's just fine fighting 1v2 against them because he's so powerful. And it was kind of a consistent thing. I think the two things for me is Baca just straight up misplayed. There's no other way to spin it. He just got mid-gapped, essentially. And I will say the thing is in the top lane matchup is I think it comes down to the sacrificial play we see from UCAM where the solo laners are TPing bot. We saw a TP bot from Dreedy that put him, 30 CS down in the matchup. And if you go 30 CS down against a Gangplank, he is going to be so fed compared to you.
Yeah, and I think that was the big thing that I wanted to see. I thought, hey, look, we're seeing a little bit of a change-up from Karmine Corp, right? They're not going to play as heavily through Cabochard. It's a Gangplank in the top lane. I thought we were actually seeing an adaptation come through from UCAM where they're going to play topside a little bit more, but that's not what we got at all. Unfortunately, Dreedy once more falling victim to these TP plays that he's helping out bot lane with.
I mean, looking at the stats we had on in the back, like he's 828 gold ahead. We may thank Baca a bit as well, or maybe the Rift Herald, I would say. But SAKEN is the one I look at the most. The damage that he put out in that, I would say, a turning point in the game. He was so far ahead at that point. And then once again, you can be critical about Baca, about his moves. They were okay. Let's be fair. The Galio ult was okay because it ended up Dreedy not dying there. But then SAKEN just takes over. He just has this massive gold lead, 1,130, and you say, that is a lot.
I mean, that's the thing, is that you can talk about the opportunity cost of, Dreedy going for those plays. You got your AD carry fed, so, there's the trade-off. But when I look at this Galio-LeBlanc matchup, what's supposed to happen is Galio is too tanky for LeBlanc just to burst out. Galio shoves the wave in, he can roam, he can reset, and it becomes a very non-interactive lane, which LeBlanc, she wants kill pressure, and she wants to be able to have a matchup where she can threaten to kill, and as a result, have priority. But to just die that early, to fall behind, I think that was the main thing that put the spanner in UCAM's works. And I feel like if you're, having that much of a rough scenario individually, you clearly need to step that up in the next game.
I think one of the people that benefited very silently as well from this was Cinkrof, right? He ended up having a ton of control when it came towards those dragons, which meant that when we got to this mid game where you had these two crazy inflated solo laners, you could actually find those fights, especially when you're trying to fight for 4th dragon.
Now moving forward into that second game, there obviously needs to be some changes being put out by UCAM. What do you want to see differently from the Spanish org, Ox?
I mean, honestly, I feel like, if you're going to draft a similar composition, I think you can more heavily lean towards the top side. But really, if mid lane doesn't end up like that, I think that game could have been a lot better. I think the composition works. It's just, I think, mis-execution around team fights, some poor decisions when it came to that early mid game. I don't think the draft was necessarily an issue, but with any situation like this, you go down a game in a best of 5, you're going to look for changes, adaptations, and maybe you look towards LeBlanc as being a problem pick because SAKEN on a pick like LeBlanc, we've seen how much impact that pick can make throughout this tournament. I wouldn't sort of put it past him just to ban it away and not have to deal with it.
Well, we have to wait and see if that is exactly what is going to happen, as Ox mentions here. We're going to head on over to a small break, but when we get back, we can see if UCAM can bounce back or that Corp might be looking a bit ahead of themselves and look for a second European Masters title.
He's going to flash in, and he steals the bomb! How did that connect by Edgeway?
As EU Masters Champions.